Hi, everybody. I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes to get into the session. So I may mute. We've got some fire alarm testing going on, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes to get into the session. And I forgot to mute. Sorry. I've got two things going on, and as we go through the session, I'm going to be watching the chat over on another computer. But as I'm presenting, I may have to wait until the end to answer questions because I don't have anybody to moderate. So just be aware of that. I'm not ignoring you per se. I'm just trying to manage two different screens here and watch for comments as they come up. So you're welcome to let me know who's with us. Right now we have 6 viewers, and if you'll just in the chat bar, just enter, tell me who you are, where you're from, what's going on. And then also, this is supposed to be a basics session, but if there are any questions that you have that go beyond the basics, I'll be happy to answer those at the end. Google Forms is one of my favorite tools, so I'll be happy to help you out however I can. I still don't have anybody that's letting me know they're there, so one of my favorite. Okay, I see Rebecca. Oh, awesome. So you're from Georgia. Great. All right, and we have Kenton County, another Kenton County from the same school. Awesome. Well, I've debated on how to do this. In the slides that you were sent by Melody, there's a link that has a presentation on it, but it's just screenshots, and this is supposed to be deeper learning. So what I'd really like to do is to go in and actually show you, and that way if you've got another computer, you can be trying it alongside me, or you can just look at the presentation later to see if you miss something or a little step or something along that. So more of a support, but I'd like to do this live. I am going to say that I am in a Kentucky Go Digital account right now. I'm not in my personal account, so I'm not quite sure as far as access to things. I tried to share a few things with this account just a few minutes ago, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now that has the information. If for some reason you're not seeing the screen with the drive, let me know and I'll try to make some adjustments. I'm not hearing anything on the chat window, so let's go. In creating Google Forms, the first thing you need to do is actually go into your drive. You can go to forms.google.com, but I like to do everything from Drive. Just click on New, and unless you've done it recently, you're not going to see Forms. You need to click on More, and then Google Forms. You also have a couple of options now as far as a blank form or from a template. We're just going to go into a blank form today. So the first thing that you'll want to do is to title your form. So let's just call this KY Go Digital. And when I click out of that, you will notice that it changes the title up here. When I click up at the top, it's going to also change the title. So KY Go Digital, and then I can also put a description in there if I like. You don't have to. And then it automatically pops in a question, but you have options for which kind of question you want. There's a short answer, paragraph, multiple choice. We even have check boxes, drop down. There are all kinds of different ones. One that's relatively new is the Checkbox Grid. So depending on what your needs are, you can choose different questions. So let's just say we're going to do a multiple choice question here. After you create a question, so let's just say question 1. And I can put, I'm just going to put numbers in here to make this quick. We can go in and we can duplicate that same question. So if you have a question that's similar in format, you can just duplicate it. That way you're not having to retype it each time. So you can duplicate and it comes up with another one, and I could change that to question 2. And I'm not having to do all the typing. We didn't have a lot here for this one, but that will help. You can also, let me go ahead and add in another one. Let's just go ahead and duplicate again. And if I decide on this third one that I want to move it and it really needs to come after question 1, all I have to do is get this little 4 arrow here and pick it up and move it wherever I want to put it. So it's very easy to move. And then I also want to point out some things along the bottom here. We've already looked at this duplicate piece. And then we have next to it the trash. So if you decide you don't want to use that question, you can use a delete. But here's a very important piece. That's the required button. So you can turn it on to require a question. You don't necessarily have to require every question. It depends on how you're using this. And remember that you also have a description or a question that you can put in here. We can also add images, and that's so powerful for especially our primary age students, but really all ages. So if I go in here and it's telling me I don't have anything, but I've shared a few things. So let's say that I'm going to do adding fractions with unlike denominators, and I need that visual piece there. I can insert that image, and so I have the problem, and I also have it visually for the students. Very powerful. You can also add in text if you need to by using this text button. So I can type a question in. You can also add images from here. And we can add a video. And I love adding the videos for reteaching, using these for assessment. So if I do Khan Academy, and adding fractions, unlike denominators. And here's my first hit from Khan Academy. And I can select that video and I can add that video in, and it will play for the students. Now this becomes really powerful when you start adding in sections, and that's this final icon. So if you add sections, typically when I open up a new form and I know that I'm going to reteach using videos on this, I'll go ahead and open up 3 or 4 sections and title them. So I would want this section, or let me add another one. So my second section might have my reteaching, and remember I can move around my questions. So I can actually move this question. See, I've got my 4 directional arrow, and I can move it down to my section 2. Actually, I think I put it in the wrong one. And somehow it doesn't want to do that. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that, but I can move it into a section. So this might be my reteaching section. And what makes this so powerful, if this is my first question, and I'm not going to come up with distractors here, but let's just say that this one is an incorrect answer, and I'm going to want to reteach based on the fact that they got it wrong. If you click on what we call a skinny snowman or the vertical dots, you can just go in there and look. You've got description, go to section based on answer, or shuffle your option order. We're talking about this section based on answer, and as soon as I click that, for answer 1, if this one is wrong, let's just say this one is right, and then we've got wrong. For the section that I want them to go to, because it's the wrong answer, I want them to go to the reteaching section. And then if they got it right, then I'll just want them to go on to section 2, and then so on. So they got it wrong. I want them to go to the reteaching, reteaching, reteaching. So what happens is if they get it right, they're able to go on to another question. If they get it wrong, then they watch the video, and then you can give them another question that's just like this one to make sure that they really got the information. Now, there's some other things that we can do to make this a little more personalized. Along the top, you see the color palette. If you click on that, you can click and change the color, or you can even upload an image. You see this last icon here. Just make sure that it's 800 by 400 to make sure that it is going to fit in that banner. So I can change this maybe to a dark blue background, and it's instantaneous. The next icon is a preview. That's what it's going to look like as you go through it as a student. So that's what your user is going to see. The next icon is the settings, and you have all kinds of options here. So the first is to collect email addresses. If you set this when you first start, it will collect the email addresses of the students or whoever is taking this. So you can collect their email address automatically. If you've already started it, like I've already started this, then I can't go back and add that after I've already shared that out. You need to make sure you do that at the very beginning. You have to have that turned on, and then you can also limit a response. So if you only want the students to be able to take it one time, then you can limit the response. You can also allow them to edit after they submit, if that's something that you want them to be able to do. They may submit it and may look at some other work or practice or get some more reteaching, and you want them to be able to edit it, then you can turn that on. That's just an option. You can also set it where the respondents, or in this case your students, can see summaries and text responses if you want them to be able to do that. That all depends on how you're using this and what you're wanting to do with it. I did skip over here at the very top under collect email responses, and it's grayed out here. It's response receipts, and it requires a sign-in. So if you turn this on, you are going to have to make sure that they sign in into a Google account to be able to do that. Under the next part of this menu, we have the presentation. So you can show a progress bar so that they know if they've got 10 questions and they're on question 3, so they can see how well they're doing or how far they are in their progress. You can also shuffle the question order. Sometimes people want to do that so that there's less of an opportunity for students to look at other student screens. And then finally, show link to submit another response. So if you want them to be able to do it again and not necessarily edit their first one, you can let them do it a second time if you want them to be able to do that. You can also set up a confirmation message so that they know that it's actually been submitted. And then the last part of this is the quizzes. This is relatively new. If you've used Google Forms in the past and thought that it was just a survey tool, man, has it changed. It's awesome. So you can turn this into a quiz and assign point values and set up a correct answer for each one of your questions, and it will allow you to be able to auto grade. So this is a great new feature that we have, or I say new, relatively new. You can release the grade. I hope you can see this because it's grayed out. Let me see if I make that a quiz. So you can immediately release the grade back to the student after they hit submit with that auto grading. If you've set it the correct answer and the number of points, it can email them immediately afterwards. But if you have a paragraph answer or a short answer that might have some different ways for them to respond, you're going to want to make sure that you set it for later after manual review. That way you can check over their answers and then send them their grade. You can also set it up where they can see their missed questions and the correct answers so that they're learning from the things that they missed. And then if they can see what the point values are. Now, when you're making a quiz, it is helpful, especially if you're not collecting the email addresses. You always want to ask their name. That seems to be the number one thing that I have with teachers as they're using this for the first time. And if they don't have that collect email address on automatically, you need to always make sure that you ask the student's name some way that you can identify them. In middle school and high school, where students are moving things around or moving around in their classes, then it's helpful to also ask, what period that they're in, or, which class, something like that, so you can quickly and easily identify the students. So going along across the top again, we have the send button after the settings. And you can do a couple of things. This is where you turn on collecting the email addresses. And you can directly email those people that you want to take this. Or you can click on the next item, which is a link. So you can provide a link and copy it right there. You can send it through Twitter or Facebook. You can also shorten the URL. But that's the link that you would have to be able to email out, or if you want to embed that in a doc or in a presentation or whatever that you want, then that link is available and you can share that out. I like to use that in Google Classroom by putting that link that's the automatic link, and there isn't any typing out or mistakes or the time that it takes to do that. And then there's also an embed piece within HTML. So if you have a blog or Google Sites or something like that that you want that survey available on, you can link it up there. The next piece is responses. And we're really not going to be able to see a lot because of the fact that I haven't done a response. Let me just go through and see if I can submit one of these quickly. This is the preview mode. This isn't pretty because we just made it very quickly. Right, so now I have one response, which still isn't going to give us a lot, but we had 5 possible answers to our question for question number 1. And you can see, since I have 1 response, that it's all red, but it would be, that pie chart would be divided up by the answers. And these are great, so you can see if there's an incorrect answer that your students are answering over and over again, it gives you a good idea of where their thinking might go wrong. And so we have some more charts. So we're able to see that by a summary. Of course, this is just one, but a summary. So that would be everybody. If I wanted to look at individual responses of students, you'll notice this number here. However many people responded would be here, and then this would be the number of that response. So I could see those individual responses to know exactly who answered which way. We can also go over here to create a spreadsheet, and that will create a new spreadsheet, which will be our KY Go Digital responses, or we can select an existing spreadsheet. So if we're trying to add this information onto some additional, then we're ready to go. We can also download our responses. We can print the responses. And if we have another one, like I said, we can set it to go to a specific spreadsheet. And we can also get email notifications for new responses. And that's great, but I'm telling you, it'll blow up your email in no time flat if you're not careful. So just be careful with that possibility. We can also delete all responses. There's no need in creating a new Google form from year to year if you're trying to collect the same information, whether that's a formative assessment, a summative assessment, or just a general topic survey. You can just delete the responses and use that same one over again. You don't have to recreate. Once you've finished collecting all the responses you want, then you can turn this off. It doesn't do away with your results. It just doesn't accept any more responses. So that's really the basics. There's so much more. You know, we could spend all day just going over the richness that we have with the Google Forms. But are there any questions? I'm going to try to look at our feed over here to the side. I'm trying to scroll through the feed, and I'm not seeing where anybody has any particular questions. Is there something that I didn't go over that you'd like to see? Well, I'm still not hearing anything. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let me go in, since we don't have any questions that I'm seeing right now, and we do have a few more minutes. Just jump in with any questions, but I'm going to go in and try to clean this up a little bit so that you all can see what it should look like. So let's just say that this is my practice form. So if I say, what is the correct answer for the following problem? And I can go in and find another question that I shared. And then you can put your possible detractor or distractors here. And remember, if you're wanting it to go to a different section, you just go to the skinny snowman, go to section based on answer, and tell it which section you want it to go to. So either it's going to our untitled section, which would just be moving on, or a reteaching section. And you would do that for each of those. So let's say that this is question 2. And this is our reteaching, and with question 2, after they get finished, they're not going to need to go to section 3 because that's reteaching. So we would add another section. And let's just move that section down. Let me delete this one. Make sure we're on this one. And so now we have a finished section. And maybe I'm going to put a picture in there telling them good job, that they're finished. So at the end of question 2, I would want to say that they need to go to question or to section based on their answer. And rather than going to next section, I would have them, if they've gotten all their questions right and they don't need to go to the reteaching, then I'm going to have them go to the last one. If they need reteaching, then they can go to section 3. So you can see how you can very easily set this up for your students so that you can use this for formative assessment with reteaching with your students. And I think we're about out of time. And I don't think I have any other people that are asking questions. So you all have a great afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the sessions. There's so many rock stars here, so many good things to learn. So use that time and create, share, and connect. Have a good one.